Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Women's Advanced Bible Study night, Thursday night, 12th October 2023. Uh, we was dealing with Noah and Nia in the book of the pseudepigrapha. So dealing with tonight is Joseph and ASENETH. We're just gonna read it and then write it about it. Um, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have a lot of videos. These videos connect dots for you and lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay. And anybody that want to support the channel or feel a need to, our cash app is running across the bottom of the screen. Okay. So those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. Okay, and we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. Okay, before we get started with our topic for discussion, we're going to do our moment of silence, or we'll do a prayer, read the Psalms, we'll have some women's health, then we have some current events, some need to know information, then we'll open it up for some Q&A, and then we'll go into the topic for discussion, which is Joseph and ASENETH, which is out of pseudepigrapha. Okay. A moment of silence before the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking our face, looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon, Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea. Hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. Then read a psalm. Somebody gonna read a psalm?
Shalom, everyone. I'll be reading Psalms 141 in its entirety.
Okay.
Psalms 141.
Okay.
The Psalm of David. Lord, I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Verse 2. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Verse 4. Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to practice wicked works with men that work iniquity, and let me not eat of their dainties. Let the righteous smite me, it shall be a kindness, and let him reprove me, it shall be an excellent oil which shall not break my head, for yet my prayer also shall be in their calamities. Verse 6. When thy judges are overthrown in stony places, they shall hear my words, for they are sweet. Our bones are scattered at the grave's mouth, as when one cutteth and cleaveth wood upon the earth. Verse 8. But mine eyes are unto thee, O God, the Lord. In thee is my trust. Leave not my soul destitute. Keep me from the snares which they have laid for me, and the gins of the workers of iniquity. Verse 10. Let the wicked fall into their own nets, whilst that I withal escape. I read verses 1 through 10, Psalms 141.
Okay. Anybody have any comments on that?
Yes, sir. Shalom. This This passage brings me to Judges, when Israel had no king, and how the people were so wicked, and some were not, and they just um, took advantage of ones who still try to keep of the law, the law of Israel. But the people are just so bad. And then, like when you read, "Incline not my heart to any evil thing, to praise," this is four, "to praise wicked works with men that worship iniquity, and let me not eat of their uh,
Thank
dainties." In Judges 19, that's when um, there was so much going on in Israel, where they, like I said, they didn't have a king. Everybody fought on their own whips. People were being good, but also people were being very terrible to to each other. And this just reminds me of how one has to not be so silent, but yet believe in the Lord of hosts will protect them against the violent people.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on that?
A lot of these scriptures in this Psalms reminds me of Proverbs chapter 23. As a
Okay.
man thinks in his heart. So I'm just going to read one verse. Verse 6: Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dandy meats. So a lot of these songs, we can reference to other scriptures and get a better understanding. So, as I always love Proverbs and Psalms, so as Joyce was reading that, I was thinking of Proverbs chapter 23.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's a lot in there because first of all, you got to look at who wrote it. David wrote it, so you can get a lot of our culture and a lot of our the way that we did things, our ancestors did by just reading a song and understanding them. Yeah, you right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're gonna go into our women's health.
Yes, sir. Forgive me, everyone. Please note that the information that is shared is intended for general, informational, and educational purposes only and is not medical advice or recommended treatment. Tonight's discussion is on the benefits of time. I did not know that time had so many benefits, so I hope that everyone gets something good out of this because I did. Thyme is an herb that's commonly used to flavor foods, with roots in the mint family. Thyme has tiny sage green leaves and thin stalks. It's a robust, shrubby herb with an intense aroma and flavor. It can be used fresh, dried, or made into an essential oil. It's also been used since ancient times for different health and medicinal benefits as a preservative. Thyme is rich in nutrients, which is a good source of vitamin A and C, as well as minerals like iron and copper. It supports your immune health. It has anti inflammatory effects. Thyme contains compounds that help reduce inflammation in the body. This may be beneficial for conditions like arthritis and inflammatory bowel disease. It supports our respiratory health, such as loosening mucus and relieving coughs. It supports digestive health. It has antioxidant properties. Thyme contains several antioxidants that can help protect the cells from damage caused by harmful free radicals. This may have anti aging effects and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. Thyme has antibacterial and antifungal properties, making it useful for treating various infections and skin conditions. It can also improve mood and reduce stress, and it is great for culinary uses. Thyme is a versatile herb that adds flavor to many dishes, such as soups, stews, marinades, and roasted meats. Like other herbs and spices, thyme is packed with disease fighting nutrients and antioxidants. And remember that thyme can also enhance the taste of foods such as meats, stews, pasta dishes, soups, and sauces. I will be reading Proverbs chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Get understanding. Hear ye children the instructions of a father, and attend to know understanding. For I give good doctrine. Forsake ye not my law. Verse 3. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Verse 5. Give wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Tonight's discussion was on the benefits of time, and I read Proverbs chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. Get understanding. Shalom.
Okay, yeah, appreciate that information. That was women's health. Anybody have any comment? Not before we close out.
Shalom. Thank you, Sister Michelle. Again, like you said, you didn't know a lot of those things. I didn't either. It's getting fall, and one of the things you mentioned about loosening mucus. You know, we run to the store, the drugstore, to get so many pharmaceutical drugs that this time that most of us have in our kitchen, we can look at those health benefits through the different seasons that can help us. Thank you so much.
Okay.
If that were you and you were being forced to evacuate, minutes notice, get the alert on your phone or wherever you get it at, on your TV, etc., and you have to leave. Do you have a go bag? Are you prepared? Are you stocked up enough where you have a bag ready by your door to head out? Because you don't know when you're going to be allowed back in. And even when you are allowed back in, do you have food in your home that will sustain you in case you are hit with a shelter in place like these people? Welcome into the channel. So we have breaking news. Idaho officials order evacuation of a town of about 10,000 people after a gas line explodes nearby. This explosion took place in southwestern Idaho, a town of about 10,600 people. The sheriff's spokesperson said that they don't know if there were any injuries as of yet, but said people within a 4-mile radius of the explosion, including the town of the 10,600 people, were being evacuated while authorities evaluate the situation. So residents were sent a reverse 911 call and emergency alerts have been issued. Authorities briefly ordered evacuations for most of the town in Middleton, Idaho, after a gas line exploded at nearby rural intersection late Thursday morning. The evacuation order was lifted a short time later after the sheriff's office confirmed the gas to the line had been shut off and residents were directed to shelter in place. So a shelter in place is still in effect. They're also saying that shortly after the explosion, people reported hearing rumbles around that area. As of
Okay. Anybody heard anything about that?
Yes, sir. I heard it. Someone at work was talking about it, had some family in that middle town, and how, just like the young lady is saying, you know, if you don't have a go-to bag, you need to get one, because people were really scrambling.
Okay. Yeah, so I was gonna say, I hadn't seen Tasha in a while. I want to say hello. And I seen the lady, Miss Johnson, on here a couple days ago. Just wanted to say you welcome to the channel, and we do this every Thursday, Women's Line. So if you like what you're hearing, you learn anything, it's all good. Okay.
Let's talk about what's happening in Israel. Not many people are talking about what's happening in the U.S. banking system. What's happening now is going to be completely shocking. Biden came out this morning, 5 a.m., and made a pretty big statement.
One of the key things I've asked the council to tackle are the unfair fees known as junk fees. Those hidden charges that companies sneak into your bill to make you pay more because they can. These junk fees can add up hundreds of dollars, weighing down family budgets, making it harder to pay family bills. These junk fees may not matter to the wealthy, but they sure matter to working folks in homes like the one I grew up in.
But this statement is on the back of 10 other things that are happening that are ultimately going to put more pressure on banks to the capacity, which I don't think they're going to be able to hold on. In fact, I think we're going to be walking into a series of bank failures and possibly bank runs. And this is going to take America by storm. So I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to show you what's actually happening with verifiable facts so you can position yourself, prepare yourself and your family for some pretty crazy times ahead. Now, I know since 2020, it's been one crazy situation after the next, but trust me when I tell you, this is where it's going to start to really, really happen. We haven't seen anything yet. Next couple of years, things are going to get real in this country and the world. I'll break it down for you. Hit the like button. YouTube will share the content, educate more people about what's really going on. And if you like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you. We'd love to give you a free strategy session if you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosure, bankruptcy, repossessions, any negative item on your banks tightened up lending on people with bad and average credit scores. Look it up. And if you'd like great credit, we'd love to help you at greatcreditfast.com. Click the link below to schedule a free strategy session. Take a look at this. So this morning, today, wholesale inflation rose 0.5%. And they now say that the Fed's target of 2% annual inflation does not expect to get there for several years. Remember they said it was transitory? Several years now. It's never getting there. It'll never get to 2%. I promise you that it's not going to happen. Because why? They're going to continue printing and printing and printing more money. Oil prices are going to continue to rise as we start to transition into clean energy. Everything is going to be inflationary. All these costs are going to get pushed on to consumers. We're not going to 2%. We're probably going to 10%, like real 10%, where they say 10%, but consumers are probably feeling 30% or 40%, which is probably not far off from where many people are feeling right now. But look at this. Biden today, he came out and said that he announces a new effort to crack down on tens of billions in junk fees. And who are the ones that are issuing these junk fees? Well, it's banks. They're going after banks. Big banks, they say, cannot charge these massive fees or trap consumers. The proposal, part of the administration's overreaching effort to increase competition in industries, right? Well, what he's really saying, what they are really saying, is not to increase competition, but they are trying to dethrone many of these banks. They're trying to push many of these banks into financial hardship. Maybe you don't believe me. Well, look at this. So this came out CNN, right? Newly unveiled banking regulations wouldn't have prevented this year's U.S. banking failures, but banks will no longer be able to act as their own risk managers. Under the new rules, banks with $100 billion or more in assets won't be able to use their own models to determine the risk they've undertaken on loans and other activities. Their risk assessments have been the basis for informing how much capital they need to hold up on the baseline requirements. Now, think about this. Banks before, they were able to loan and lend money based on their own levels of risk. That's why a lot of regional banks, if you look at who they're lending money to, mainly it's small businesses, it's the average everyday American, right? But these bigger banks, they try to, work with private clients. They try to work and loan different products. They have different loan programs. So when they start to move in, and they start to change the requirements, this is going to change banking. This is going to change lending. And so they are doing something unique, right? So they're accounting for unrealized gains and losses. Banks would be required to factor in unrealized losses or gains on securities in the portfolio. Silicon Valley Bank accumulated a lot of paper losses or unrealized losses from holding bonds while the Fed hiked interest rates. Generally, interest rates on bonds go up as the Fed hikes, which leads to lower bond prices. Eventually, SVB had to sell the bonds, which meant that it had to realize the loss, but it did not need to hold capital to protect depositors from these losses. Now,
Yeah, so what this guy is saying is, while everybody is watching what's going on with Hamas and Israel and all that, these bankers, they doing something else with these banks. They're actually collapsing them. But we got everybody else to cover is all this other stuff they got going on, bringing all this other drama up. But the main thing to pay attention to is what they're doing to these banks, which is the foundation of America. When their banks go, America go. Okay. Got some need to know information right here. See?
The most dramatic scenes are playing out in Gaza. People here are waking up to horror. Destroyed neighborhoods, buildings reduced to rubble, families killed, children fighting for their lives, no electricity, and no place to bury the dead.
Since 10 p.m. yesterday until early today, more than 50 martyrs in Khan Yunis, and the death toll is constantly rising. We cannot contain burials in a specific place, so graves are dug randomly in various places around houses and in places donated by landowners.
This is a humanitarian disaster, and it's not a first, though it may end up being the worst that Gaza has seen. Hamas attacked Israel and went back to Gaza with Israeli hostages. Their assets are embedded in civilian infrastructure, and in the past they've been accused of using the people of Gaza as human shields. This time too, it's the ordinary Gazans who are bearing the brunt. The Gaza Strip is home to some 2.3 million people. It is one of the world's most densely populated areas. Israel is currently pounding the Strip. Hundreds of Hamas targets are being struck every day, and the result is being reflected in the rising death toll. More than 1,400 people have been killed. This includes 12 workers of the United Nations. Nearly 340,000 people have been displaced, and these numbers are expected to rise. Thus, Gaza is now out of electricity. When the war started, Israel cut off the power supply to them. Now, Gaza depends on Israel for practically everything, for food, for water, for power supply. It has only one power plant of its own. And that plant was running until yesterday, but now it is out of fuel. So there's a blackout. Ordinary Gazans are having to rely on private generators. And most of them do not have fuel to run. For 2 decades now, in fact, Gaza has been under a blockade. Everything is scarce, including fuel. And now with Israel imposing a total siege, all supplies have been cut off. Gaza has one border crossing into Egypt, and that too was shut on Tuesday.
You don't see how affected we are. We're homeless, we're destroyed. It's been 5 days with no food and water, and we don't know where to go. Children are everywhere here and homeless. This is not right. Let the world support us. We're restless. We are poor people, the Palestinian people.
Currently, hospitals in Gaza are overwhelmed. They're treating hundreds of victims, but they don't know how long they can do this. Without power, many medical devices have stopped functioning, and those that are running could stop in hours. Several lives depend on these machines. So you get the picture, and it doesn't look good for Gaza.
The Arab person who dies from the Western Arab area to the Eastern Arab area, we are one body and we cry over all those people, but no one cries over us. There's no chivalry, no feelings, hearts are dead.
Innocent Palestinians are dying. But what is the international voice of the Palestinian cause doing about it? I'm talking about the PA, the Palestinian Authority. Quick primer. The Palestinian Authority was set up in the mid-1990s. It was a product of the Oslo Accords. What is the Oslo Accords? A deal of sorts between Israel and Palestine. It was supposed to pave the way for an independent Palestinian state. It was signed some 30 years ago, but it failed to deliver. And now it's become irrelevant. Today, the PA controls parts of the West Bank. They once controlled the Gaza Strip too, but that changed in the year 2006. In 2006, elections were held. the last elections in Palestine, both in West Bank and Gaza. Now, the PA retained West Bank, but Gaza went to Hamas, and soon they established complete control. So now Hamas runs the Gaza Strip. They're at odds with the Palestinian Authority. They're political rivals. Both say they represent Palestine and fight for the Palestinian cause. But there's a difference. The Palestinian Authority has more political legitimacy. The international community recognizes it. In contrast, Hamas has few partners. Most countries have designated Hamas as a terrorist organization. In 2014, these two groups, Hamas and Palestinian Authority, tried to join hands to form what they call a national accord government.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay, no comments. Yeah, so with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything they want to talk about that we talked about? You want to bring it up?
Shalom. Last Thursday, we were speaking on Judges 19 to 21 about how the Levite had threw his concubine to the people that murdered her.
Okay.
And so my question was the Lord of Hosts upset? I know he allowed so many to be killed before he let the last group of fighters take over and killed the Benjamites, but left 600 alive. Was he trying to give Israel a lesson, or I mean, how did that work? Because there was so many that perished in the way that the concubine was killed.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what happened when they first came into the land, and it's a wake up call for the day too also. But when they came into the land, Canaanites was there, and he told them not to do what the Canaanites do. Don't mingle with them. Don't let your sons marry their daughters, and don't let your daughters marry their sons, because they was hybrids. They came from the fallen angels. That Mount Hermon is right around there where those 200 angels came in the book of Enoch. But some of the tribes, it tells you at the end of the book of Jasher, some of the tribes drove them out. If you go back and look at what Moses told them, the Song of Moses, Deuteronomy 32, and what Joshua said before he passed, was he charged them to keep up what was given to them. The commandment was to drive out all of them, to totally annihilate them. But after Joshua and Caleb died, they didn't do that. They started. They allowed them to have cities next door to them. And so that's how you get the understanding of that story. With the Levite is that he was trying to hurry up on his travels to get back to where his concubine father's house was at. He didn't want to find himself in none of those Canaanite cities before the sun went down. He was trying to get to an Israelite city. And so because of those people, they got wicked ways. It goes back to Abraham when he told Sarah, if anybody asks me who I am, tell them I'm your brother, because when they see an attractive woman and she got a husband, they just gonna kill the husband and get the woman. But if she got a brother, they're gonna appease the brother and give him all kind of stuff to win favor to get his sister. But it goes back to the garden. But if you know the construct is that it tells you Adam was the son of God. The angels were sons of God. So when Samuel, aka Lucifer, came in the garden, that's his brother. He took his brother's wife. He laid with his brother's wife. So again, like I said, Cain came and Cain killed him. Killed him. Cain killed his brother. It's because of his DNA. He wasn't Adam's son. He was the serpent's son. Just like these people. When they were sacrificing to these angels, they was killing, they were sacrificing their children, human sacrifices, all that. And they started because they didn't keep the mission up with Moses and what Moses and Joshua was doing. They ended up starting to pick up those people's their ways. They started sacrificing their children. They started intermingling with them, and so that's what was going on with this situation with the Levites, and that's why it was so much destruction. It's no different than with Sodom and Gomorrah. Same people. But he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah because of the inhabitants, who they were. They was hybrids from these fallen angels. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Coming,
Yes, sir. So when the Benjamites lost all their women and children, and it was 600 left, they took and stole the women of the young women because they needed to be fruitful and multiply again.
Exactly. And it goes back to the original question when I posed it today was, why is these things happening? That's what I'm saying. You're looking at how where we at today, and you got to ask yourself, how did we get there? But anyway, we don't see what's you see going across the pulpits and the churches and all that. You don't see that in the Old Testament. You don't see. Uh, uh, it's an order. Just like an angel is a man is not equal to an angel, and he gonna find it out real quick if he get up there around them acting a certain type of way. It's the same thing with women and men. They ain't equal. They ain't how the Most High create. That's not how he set it up. So, like I said, you look at he said you want to understand him, understand his creation. Look at the lions and the tigers and the bears. The lion can't do nothing with that lion. And none of those, none of those species. Then the male is adorned to let you know you're doing something with him. So, but people ain't ready for that. That's all you gotta do is look at his creation, and you can see it's not like these people say it is. You've been hoodwinked. Everybody got roles. Okay.
Shalom. Thank you. I know that reading Judges, even just, I went from 17 to 21, and it is horrific. It's something I say that once you read it, you can pull from it and say, thank the Lord of hosts, we don't live in those times.
Okay. Yeah. So, anybody else got anything?
Shalom. And reading that, you just see how it was a broken nation of Israel. It was a sin cycle for about 350 years after the death of Joshua. The people rebelled against the Lord of hosts, and they just picked up on their own belief of what was sin and what they didn't consider sin once they got away from that with all of the idolatry and immoral acts. And again, like you say, if we reference this back to Sodom and Gomorrah in Genesis 19 there, it's like almost equivalent to Judges, how those Nephilims came and, had sex with animals and all of that. And excuse me, and it just shows that they came into their own thought pattern and was the testing and despising and doing all the things that were immoral, because they had no king, and they were just doing their own thing. Shalom.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna read this right here. This is book of Joshua, one of my book suggestions, and it says in here, at the end of the book of Joshua, it says, "Now it came to pass in the process of time when the children of Israel had built their cities and they got them possessions in the land of Canaan, that they grew mighty, and for a number, they were as the sands of the sea, as the seashore." So we see right here, this verse is letting you know that he didn't fulfill the prophecy that he gave Abraham and Isaac, that he's going to make they seed as the sands of the sea. So it's fulfilled right here. And then it says, and they built little tabernacles in every city and in every town, and the priests and the Levites, and on every Sabbath day read before the people in every city and in every town, and the law and the statutes, and they rehearsed in the ears of all the people the mighty works that were done in Egypt and in the wilderness. And they set up altars. Neither did they offer burnt offerings or, or peace offerings, save only at Shiloh. But the children of Israel throughout all their tribes kept the Passover and the feast as Moses had appointed. Okay. And Joshua appointed rulers of cities and rulers of towns, and the people dwelt in peace, and they walked uprightly. And it came to pass that Joshua spake unto all the children of Israel before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and he said, the garments of the virgin betrothed, of the married woman, and of the widow shall from henceforth know them as such, that ye may be chaste before the Lord your God. Likewise, the garments of the young man, the married man, and of the widow shall know them as such, that ye may be blameless. And they said, all these things will we, our wives, our sons, our daughters observe and do. Now it came to pass that Joshua assembled together Venus the priest and Othel and all the elders of Israel. And Joshua spoke unto them, and he said, lo, the days of my life are many, and the time is at hand that I shall return to the place of my fathers. Hear therefore the words of Joshua. Call to mind the days of old. Remember the times of the past. Our father Jacob dwelt in Hebron in this land, and there was a sore famine in Canaan. Now the Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had advanced Joseph, one of the sons of Jacob. Wherefore went he into Egypt, and he dwelt in the land of Goshen, and he died there. After the death of Jacob, the Egyptians oppressed your brethren. Then came Moses from Midian and delivered us out of the bondage and led us through the Red Sea into the wilderness. And now, behold, this day is fulfilled the prophecy of Abraham. I just said that unto thy seed will I give this land. And ye are the multitude, ye as a multitude, a great people. And it shall come to pass that if you observe the statutes and the ordinances of the Lord and walk uprightly, ye shall drive out the remnant of the Gentiles. So they playing with words again right here. These Canaanites are Gentiles. Yeah, they're Gentiles, right? So he says, wherefore I charge you this day that you command your sons, that they do not take them wives of the daughter of the nations. It is an abomination. It bringeth destruction. And lo, Othel, peradventure, he shall judge Israel after I am no more. And Joshua blessed Israel, and he said, the Lord God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, prosper your going out and your coming in. And it came to pass on tomorrow, Joshua called unto him his sons and his daughters, and he blessed them, and he said, the days of my life are 112 years. These are the days of my pilgrimage. And Joshua said, this book which I have written, ye shall neither add to it nor diminish from it. It is thine and thy sons to possess forever, that the elders of Israel and the children not yet born may read and praise the Lord. And when Jasher had made an end of speaking, he called unto his eldest son, and he said unto him, Behold now an ark that I may put therein this testimony, and do thou lay it up in the city of Jasher. And Jasher built him the ark of gopher wood, and he brought it unto his father. And Jasher put therein the book which he had written, and Jasher laid it up in the city of Jasher. So, like I said, this is before they went to the land of Canaan. Jasher was after Joshua. Jasher came after Joshua, and so, like I said, when Moses passed, Joshua passed, they didn't finish driving out the Canaanites. And they ended up building cities and allowing them to live amongst them. And that was a problem all the way to the time we got kicked out in 70 AD. Okay, so everybody good on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll play this little video right
Yes,
here.
sir.
Play this and then we're going to the lesson.
Is not charity. Instead, reparations is justice. Let that sink in for a second. Because we've been conditioned to think that the West is doing Africans, Black people, the Caribbean a favor by paying them back for the atrocities that they committed. They always package it as a favor. We're extending you a courtesy. You know, we didn't do this. It's not me. It's not my mom. It's not my grandfather. It's 5 generations before me. So I'm just being nice by paying you back. And whatever I give you, you must take because I'm just being nice to you. And let me tell you, they tried the wrong one because the Prime Minister of Barbados is not one to try. She came and said, excuse me, who do you think you are? Who do you think you're talking to? It's not charity, it is justice.
It is compounded by the failure of the developed world to accept that reparatory justice is a solemn obligation which we must confront. The conversation King Charles told us at the opening of the Commonwealth Heads of Government when he was Prince Charles was a conversation whose time had come, that of reparatory justice. But it can't be a slow conversation taken up when people feel like it has to be a conversation in which equal partners discuss. It cannot be an act of charity of those who simply feel that their conscience must be cleansed.
Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome again to another episode of our conversations. My name is Saduro Gaga. I'm a business journalist by profession. Now, one of my favorite people spoke at the United Nations General Assembly. It's not a secret that I love Mia Mottley. I love how bold she is. I love how brave she is. I love how non-nonsense she is. I love how she's settled in her leadership as a woman. And you can't tell. In fact, when it comes, she has ice in her veins. She's made of iron. So many things that her male counterparts will not dare speak about, she will speak about them. She stood up against them over and over and over again. And she speaks about issues that affect people, issues that nobody is willing to take on. Trust me, Amoto will take it on. One of her speeches that went viral was during the climate summit, where she just called people up. And she was like, what do you want? Do you want us to drown? Do you want us to drown? Because you're heating up the planet, water levels are rising, and you don't want to do anything. You don't want to cut on emissions. You don't want to pay for adaptation and mitigation. What do you want? Stop this hypocrisy. Stop pledging money that you know you will not pay. Thought she was dead. No, she was not. She is back. She is back. I know I sound a little bit excited in this video that I sound with the others because one, I love Mia Mottley as a person and as a leader, but most importantly, I love that she has a voice and she stands for something, because rarely do you find leaders that are willing to put themselves on the line, to put their leadership on the line, to put their popularity and influence on the line, to speak about things that truly matter. And I'll tell you why it's very important that she's added and continues to add her voice to these reparations conversations. Because when people are talking about reparations, even those asking for it, it's almost like there's some sense of fear. There's no bravery, there's no courage, there's no audacity. Do you know the audacity it took for one human being to decide that a fellow human being was less than and was going to be their slave?
Here's one thing you need to do before buying. People are saving real money.
The Western audacity that it took to kidnap people like them, the only difference is skin color. Every other thing is the same. Kidnap people, sometimes buy them for little to nothing. Can you imagine buying a whole human being, right? And putting them in very inhumane conditions, right? Piling them on a boat, shipping them off, and then making them work for you for little to nothing for years. Years, and you were not feeling guilty. No sense of guilt. You mistreated these people. Some of them took their lives, some of them lost their lives in your hands, and you built wealth, development, and prosperity. Do you know the audacity it takes? And now, when African leaders and other people want reparations, it's almost like we are approaching it from a polite point of view, from a reason point of view. No, me remotely saying no. There are no gray zones. It's black and white. In your wisdom, you sat down and thought that black people can be your slaves. And now, we black people, in our wisdom and the same audacity, have decided that you will pay for the atrocities you committed against us.
Okay. Any comments? Like I say, that conversation is not going to go away until these people do something. It's just getting more and more, the cries getting louder and louder. Okay. Any comment? Okay.
No, sir.
Yeah, I asked the question where I brought this up the other day, day before yesterday, about we were dealing with Noah and his brother and Ner and his Ner's wife, and I had mentioned the book inside the pseudo picture for Joseph and ASENETH. Well, did anybody check it out? Anybody do any reading on
Um,
Yes, sir. I
it?
did.
Anybody, what you get out of it? You got something? What you read? I mean, what you get?
After I'll say after reading the story, right? I see again that they was taking and adding extra text that leads you to the passages of scriptures in the New Testament. Um, as you know, you said we're going to read the story again. So as we read the story, we see that the Lord of hosts does not, operate like that. Um, I say this all the time. Malachi 3:6 says, "For I am the Lord; I change not." But all of a sudden, in this story, um, uh, what's her name? Asenath. She seems to be the main focus of this story, which is out of order, where she is the one that's doing all the praying. And even there was a psalm in there, as in that psalm that really caught my attention. And so it was just a lot of things in this story we can see again that is off, it's not correct, that our God does not deal that way.
Okay. Well, anybody else? Okay, yeah. So, like I was saying, is you can read these stories, and then you can get them. You can like I said, every day that passes, you get more and more uh, foundation built up under you. So when you read these, you can pretty much you can see the meat, and you can see the fat, and you know what you got to do. So I'm gonna start reading some of this. I'm not gonna read all of it because I think it's pretty long, really. But it says and it happened in the first year of the 7 years of plenty.
Excuse me, Brother Leonard. What book are you in, and what page is that?
It's 202. I'm in
Okay, in the Sufi-Grapha,
yeah, I'm in volume 2.
volume 2. Okay, thank you.
It says and it happened in the first year of the 7 years of plenty, in the second month, on the 5th day of the month, Pharaoh sent out Joseph to drive around the whole land of Egypt. Joseph came in the 4th month of the first year, on the 18th of the month, into the territory of Heliopolis, and was gathering the grain of that region like the sands of the sea. And there was a man in that city, a satrap of Pharaoh, and this man was a chief of all the satraps and the noble of Pharaoh. And this man was exceedingly rich, prudent, and gentle. And he was a counselor of Pharaoh, because he was understandingly beyond all the noblemen of Pharaoh. And the name, and the name of that man was Pen, Pen, Pentephris, priest of Heliopolis. Okay, and he had a daughter, a virgin of 18 years, and she was very tall and handsome and beautiful to look at beyond all virgins on the earth. And this girl had nothing similar to the virgins of the Egyptians. Every respect similar to the daughters of the Hebrews, and she was tall as Sarah, and handsome as Rebecca, and beautiful as Rachel. And the name of this virgin was ASENETH, and the fame of her beauty spread all over that land and to the ends of the inhabited world. And all the sons of the noblemen, and the sons of the satraps, and the sons of all the kings, and all of them, young and powerful, asked for her hand in marriage. And there was much wrestling among them over ASENETH, and they made attempts to fight against each other because of her. And Pharaoh's firstborn son heard about her, and he kept entreating his father to give her to him for his wife. And his firstborn son said to the Pharaoh, Father, give me ASENETH, the daughter of Pentephis, the priest of Heliopolis, to be my wife. And the Pharaoh and his father said to him, Why do ye seek a wife that is beneath you, and you are a king of the whole land of Egypt? Behold, it is not the daughter of the king of Moab, Jachin, betrothed to you, and she is a queen and exceedingly beautiful. This one take for your wife. Okay, and then it says, and ASENETH was despisingly and scornfully. ASENETH was despising and scorning every man, and she was boastful and arrogant with everyone, and no man had ever seen her because Pentecost had a tower adjoining, okay, his house, very big and high, and on top of this tower was an upper floor, including 10 chambers. And the first chamber was big and splendid, paved with purple stones, and its walls were faced with the colors and precious stones. And the ceiling of that chamber was of gold, and within the chambers gods of the Egyptians, who were without number, were fixed on the walls, even gods of gold and silver. And the sinner worshipped them, and all feared them, and performed sacrifices to them every day. And the second chamber contained ASENETH ornaments and chests, and there was much gold in it, the chamber, and the silver and the clothes uh, interwoven with gold and chosen and costly stones and distinguished clothing, and it was were all of the good things of the earth. And 7 virgins occupied the remaining 7 chambers, each having 1 chamber, and these were waiting on ASENETH, and they were all of the same age, born in one night with ASENETH, and she loved them very much, and they were very beautiful, like the stars of heaven, and no man ever conversed with them, not even a male child. And there were 3 windows to ASENETH's big chamber where her virginity was being fostered. And of the one window, the first was exceedingly big, looking east toward the court, and the second one was looking south, and the third one was looking toward the streets where people passed by. And there was a golden bed standing in the chamber, a bed that looked toward the window, looking east, and the bed was laid with gold woven purple stuff, interwoven with violet, purple, and white. And in this bed, ASENETH slept alone, and a man or another woman never sat on it on the ASENETH alone. And there was a large court surrounding the house, and a wall was around the court, very high, built from big square stones. And the court had 4 iron-plated gates, and 18 powerful armed young men guarded each of these, and handsome trees of all sorts and all bearing fruit were planted within the court along the wall, and their fruit was ripe, for it was for the time of harvest. And there was in the court on the right hand a spring of abounding living water, and below the spring was a big cistern receiving the water of that spring. From there a river ran right through the court and watered all the trees of the court. Okay. Then it says, Penny attempt to give ASENETH to Joseph and Mary. It says it happened in the first year of the 7 years of Penny, in the 4th month, on the 18th of the month, Joseph came into the territorial head office. I read it already. It says, and ASENETH heard that her father and mother had come from the fields which were their inheritance, and rejoiced and said, I will go and see my father and my mother, because they have come from the field which is our inheritance, for it was the time of harvest. And ASENETH hurried into the chamber where her robe lay, and dressed in the white linen, okay, robe in a robe with violet and gold, and girded herself with a golden girdle, and put bracelets on her hands and her feet, and put golden baskets about her feet, and around her neck she put valuable ornaments of costly stones which hung around her from all sides. And the name of the gods of the Egyptians were engraved everywhere on the bracelets, and the stones and the faces of all the idols were carved on them. And she put a tiara on her head, and fastened, I guess it's a turban, on her head, and fastened a demigown around her temples, and covered her head with a veil. Okay, and she hurried and went down the stairs from the upper room, and came to her father and mother, greeted them and kissed them, and Penthrough and his wife rejoiced over her daughter ASENETH with great joy, because they saw her adorned like a bride of God. And they brought out all of the good things which they had brought from the field, which was their inheritance, and gave them to their daughter. And ASENETH rejoiced over all the good things, the fruit, the grapes, the dates, the doves, and the pomegranates, and the figs, because they were all handsome and good to taste. And Penthrough said to his daughter ASENETH, my child, and he said, behold, here I am, my lord. And he said to her, sit down between us, and I will tell you what I have to say. And ASENETH sat before her father and mother, and Pentecost, her father, with his right hand, grasped the right hand of his daughter and kissed it, and said to her, "My child ASENETH." And he said, "Behold, here I am, Lord. Let my Lord and my Father speak up." And Pentecost, her father, said to her, "Joseph, the powerful one of God, is coming to us today, and he is chief of the whole land of Egypt. And the king Pharaoh appointed to us this day, and he is chief of the whole land of Egypt. And King Pharaoh appointed him king of the whole land, and he is giving grain to the whole land and saving it from the oncoming famine. And Joseph is a man who worships God and self-control, and a virgin like you today. And Joseph is also a man powerful in wisdom and experience. Okay, and the Spirit of God is upon him, and the grace of the Lord is with him. Come, my child, and I will hand you over to him for his wife, and you will be a bride to him, and he will be your bridegroom forever and ever. And when the citizens heard these words from her father, plenty of red sweat poured over her face, and she became furious with great anger, and looked ASENETH at her father with her eyes and said, "Why does my Lord and my father speak words such as these to hand me over like a captive to a man who is an alien and a fugitive and was sold as a slave? And he not the shepherd's son from the land of Canaan? And he himself was caught in the act, and when he was sleeping with his mistress, and his master threw him into the prison of darkness, and the Pharaohs brought him out of the prison because he interpreted his dream just like the older women of the Egyptians interpret dreams. Know that I will be married to the king's firstborn son because he is king of the whole land of Egypt." Hearing this, Pentecost was ashamed to speak further to his daughter ASENETH about Joseph because she had answered him daringly and with boastfulness and anger. Okay, it says, and the young man of Pentecost's servants rushed in and says, "Behold, Joseph is standing before the doors of our court." And ASENETH fled from her father and her mother. Okay, presence. And when she heard them speak these words about Joseph, and went up into the upper floor and entered her chamber and stood by the large window, the one looking east, in order to see Joseph entering into her father's house. And Pentecost and his wife and his whole family went out to meet Joseph. And the gates of the court looking east were open, and Joseph entered, standing on Pharaoh's second chariot, and the four horses, white as snow, and with golden bridles were harnessed to it, and the entire chariot was manufactured from pure gold. And Joseph was dressed in an exquisite white tunic, and the robe which he had thrown around him was purple, made of linen, interwoven with gold, and the golden crown was on his head, and around the crown were 12 chosen stones, and on top of these 12 stones were 12 golden rays, and a raised staff was in his left hand, and in his right hand he held outstretched an olive branch, and there was plenty of fruit on it, and in the fruit was a great wealth of oil. And Joseph entered the court, and the gates of the court were closed, and every man and woman strange remained outside the court, because the guards of the gates drew tight and closed the doors, and all the strangers were closed out. And Pentecost and his wife and his whole family, except their daughter ASENETH, went and prostrated themselves face down to the ground before Joseph. And Joseph descended from his chariot and greeted them with his right hand. Okay, and ASENETH saw Joseph on his chariot and was strongly cut to the heart, and her soul was crushed, and her knees were paralyzed, and her entire body trembled, and she was filled with a great fear. And she sighed and said to her heart, "What shall I now do, wretched that I am? Did I not speak, saying that Joseph is coming, and the shepherd's son from the land of Canaan? And now behold, the Son from heaven has come to us on his chariot, and entered our house today, and shined in like a light upon the earth. But I, foolish and daring, have despised him, and spoken wicked words about him, and do not know that Joseph is the Son of God. For who among men on earth would generate such beauty? And what womb of a woman would give birth to such a light? What a wretched and foolish girl I am, because I have spoken wicked words about him to my father. And now, where shall I go and hide from his face, in order that Joseph, the Son of God, does not see me, because I have spoken wicked things about him? And where shall I flee and hide? Because every hiding place he sees, and nothing hidden escapes him, because of the great light that is inside him. And now, be gracious on me, Lord God of Joseph. Any comments so far? Okay. Says, because I have
Shalom.
spoken. Okay.
Go back. It sounded as if because she had been brought up in such royalty and heard of Joseph when he was a shepherd's boy, that he would not fit in her standard. But then when she saw him, everything changed from then.
Right. So you don't see the Lord of hosts in that?
Yes, sir.
Nah. You
Yes,
remember
sir.
when they came out of Egypt, when they came into the land of Canaan, what he told Moses to tell the children of Israel, he told them that I'm gonna put the fear of God on them, and the fear of dread of you when they see you. So she feeling one way, but when she saw Joseph the Most High, Lord of hosts took over.
Yes,
He
sir.
did that to her. You can see it.
Right, right.
Like, she was the one. He did the same thing with those giants that was around Joseph, the 33 giants that was around David, and the 300 that was around Moses and around Abraham. He putting the fear, the dread, and the submissiveness on them to submit to these men. And he just did it right here. So anyway, let's keep going. So he says, because I have spoken wicked words against him in ignorance, and now let my father give me to Joseph for a maidservant and a slave, and I will serve him forever and ever. So let's see she did a 180 turn all of a sudden, right? But another thing I want to shine light on, so we go back to let me see, yeah, let me get it. So it says, I should have stopped when I was reading it. It says, if you we go there all the time to Isaiah chapter 3, I think it is, when the daughters of Zion was haughty. You can see it right here. It tells you, and he had a daughter, a virgin, 18 years old, and she was very tall and handsome and beautiful to look upon, and all beyond all virgins on the earth. And this girl was nothing similar to the virgins of Egyptians, but she was in every respect similar to the daughters of the Hebrews, and she was tall. But anyway, keep going. And it says, look at the stuff she had. It says, okay, yeah, it says, and there were 3 widows to ASENETH's big chamber, windows to ASENETH's big chamber, where her virginity was being fostered in the one window. The first one we did says there was a large court surrounding the house, and the wall was around the court, really high, built from big square stone, and the court had 4 iron-plated gates, and 18 powerful armed young men guarded each each of these, and the handsome trees were going. Could be going. Let's see.
Look at page 204, Brother Leonard.
Well, I'm on 204.
It says, let me see. With gold and choices and costly stones and distinguished clothes, and all the ornaments of her virginity. And the third chamber was ASENETH's storeroom. 7 chambers, such as having one chamber.
Yeah,
Is that what you were looking for?
right, yeah, that's it. So yeah, so when you look at that, it to me, it took me to what the Daughters of Zion was doing, because they had the same stuff, and notice that how she is. She was haughty, but when we see that once Joseph showed up, most I put another spirit on her though, but she having all, she adorned with all this stuff, just like the Daughters of Zion was, and like I was saying, Penthros, her father got all that. These back in the day, these women weren't working, so the father was blessed with all that, and he blessed her with because he got it. It was the same thing with the Daughters of Zion, and so the Most
Yes,
High.
sir. And when you said the daughters of Zion, excuse me, you talked about Isaiah 3. So we look back there, that was 16, where you mentioned more of the Lord said it because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk
Right.
with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go and making a tingling with their feet. And then it goes on talking about the silver and the ornaments and all of the chains and bracelets and stuff that they adored, rings in their noses and jewels and all of that. Yes, sir.
And they got beside themselves because of that. And like I said, it wasn't that they acquired them. It's the Most High was a blessing. It's an order here. He blessed the men, and that's why they had it. So if you keep reading that in Isaiah 3, he said he's gonna take it away. But how? He said he's gonna kill all the men, and then they gonna fall down in the streets, throw dust on their head because of the source is gone. Okay, yeah. So anyway, back over here on page 214 says, and the sinner rejoiced exceedingly with great joy over Joseph's blessings, and hurried and went into the upper floor by herself, and fell on her bed exhausted, because in her there was joy and distress, and much fear and trembling and continual sweating, as she heard all these words of Joseph, which he had spoken to her in the name of the Most High God. And she wept with great and bitter weeping, and repented of her inflations or whatever with the gods whom she used to worship, and spurned all the idols, and waited for the evening to come. Says, and Joseph ate and drank, and told his servants, harness the horses to the chariot, for he said, I will go away and drive around the whole land. And Penthrow said to Joseph, let my Lord lodge here today, and tomorrow you will go out on your way. And Joseph said, no, but I will go out today, because this is the day on which God began to make all his creatures. And on the 8th day, when this day returned, I too will return to you and lodge here. And Joseph went away on his way, and Penthros and his whole family went away to their estate. Okay? And Asenath was left alone with the 7 virgins, and she continued to be weighed down and wept until the sun set. And she ate no bread and drank no water. And the night fell, and all the people in the house slept, and she alone was awake and continued to brood and to weep. And she often struck her breast with her hand and kept being filled with great fear and trembling, with a heavy trembling. And Asenath rose from her bed and quietly went down to the stairs from the upper floor and went to the gateway. And the woman gatekeeper was asleep with her children. And Asenath heard and took down from the window the skin which hung there for a curtain, and filled it with ashes from the fireplace, and carried it up into the upper floor and put it on the floor. And she closed the door firmly and slipped the iron bolt across and sighed with great sighing and bitter weeping. Okay, and the virgin who was her foster sister, whom Asenath loved beyond all virgins, heard her sighing and hurried and woke up the other 6 virgins, and they went to Asenath's door and found the door closed. And they heard Asenath sighing and weeping, and said to her, "What have you, mistress, and why do you feel so sad? And what is this that is bothering you? Open the door to us, and we will see what you have." And Asenath did not open the door, but said to them from within, "My head is stricken with heavy pain, and I am resting in my bed, and I do not have the strength to rise and open the door to you, because I have grown weak in all my limbs. But go each of you in your chamber and rest, and let me be quiet." And the virgins went away, each into her own chamber. Okay, and the sinner rose and opened the door quietly and went into a second chamber where the chest containing her ornaments were, and opened her coffers and took out a black and sober tunic. And this was her tunic of mourning. And when her younger brother had died, and this cynic had dressed and mourned for her brother, and she took her black tunic and carried it into her chamber and closed the door again firmly and slipped the bolt across. And the cynic hurried and put out her linen and gold woven royal robe and dressed in the black tunic of mourning, and loosened her golden girdle and girded a rope around her, and put off the turban from her head, and the demijohn and the bracelets from her hand and the feet, and put everything on the floor. And she took her chosen robe and the golden girdle and the headgear and the demijohn, and threw everything through the window looking north to the pool. And Asenath heard and took all her gods that were in her chamber, the ones of gold and silver who were without number, and ground them to pieces, and threw all the idols of the Egyptians through the windows looking north from her upper floor to the beggars and needy persons. And Asenath took her royal dinner and the fatlings and the fish and the flesh of the heifer and all the sacrifices of her gods to the vessels of their wine of libation, and threw everything through the window looking north, and gave everything to the strange dogs. And the sinner said to herself, "By no means must my dogs eat from my dinner and from the sacrifice of idols, but let the strange dogs eat those." And after that, the sinner took the skin full of ashes and poured it on the floor. And she took a piece of sackcloth and girded it around her waist. And she loosened the flaps of her hair of her head and sprinkled ashes upon her head. And she scattered the ashes on the floor and struck her breast often with both hands, and wept bitterly, and fell upon the ashes and wept with great and bitter weeping all night, with sighing and screaming until daybreak. And the sinner rose at daybreak and looked, and behold, there was much mud from her tears. and from the ashes. And the Asenath fell upon her face from the ashes till evening and until the setting of the sun. In this way Asenath did for 7 days, and she ate no bread and drank no water in those 7 days of her humiliation. Then it says, and on the 8th day, behold, it was dawn, and the birds were already singing, and the dogs barking at the people who were passing through. And the sinner lifted up her head just a little from the floor, and the ashes on which she was lying, because she was exceedingly tired and could not control her limbs because of the want of food, and for the 7 days. And she rose on her knees, put her hands on the floor, and lifted herself up a little from the floor, and she was still bowing her head, and the hairs of her head were stretched out in strands from the load of the ashes. And the sinner clasped her hands, fingers against fingers, and shook her head to and fro, and struck her breast continuously with her hands, and left her head into her lap, and her face was flooded with her tears, and she sighed with great sighing, pulled her hair from her head, and sprinkled ashes on her head. And Asenath was tired and had become discouraged, and her strength had gone. And she turned upward to the wall, and she and sat below the window looking east. And she laid her head into her lap, clasping her fingers around her right knee, and her mouth was closed, and she had not opened it for 7 days. And in the seventh night of her humiliation, and she said in her heart, without opening her mouth, what shall I do? Miserable that I am, or where shall I go? Okay. With whom shall I take refuge, or what shall I speak? Uh, I, the virgin and the orphan, and the desolate and abandoned and hated. All people have come to hate me, and on top of those, my father and my mother, because I too have come to hate their gods that have destroyed them and caused them to be trampled underfoot by men. And therefore, my father and my mother and my whole family have come to hate me and said, Asenath is not our daughter, because she destroyed our gods. And all people hate me because I too have come to hate every man and all who acts of my hand in marriage. And now, in this humiliation of mine, all have come to me to hate me and gloat over this affliction of mine. And the Lord, the God of the powerful Joseph, the Most High, hates all those who worship idols, because he is jealous and terrible God toward all those who worship strange gods. Therefore, he has come to hate me too, because I worship dread dumb idols and bless them and ate from their sacrifices. And my mouth is defiled from their table. And I do not have the boldness to call on the Lord God of heaven, the Most High, the mighty one of the powerful Joseph, because my mouth is defiled from the sacrifices of idols. But I have heard many things that the God of the Hebrews is a true God, and a living God, and a merciful God, and compassionate and long suffering and painful and gentle, and does not count the sins of humble persons, nor expose the lawless deeds of an afflicted person at the time of his affliction. Therefore will I take courage too, and turn to him, and take refuge with him, and confess all my sins to him, and pour out my supplication before him. Who knows? Maybe he will see my humiliation and have mercy on me. Perhaps he will see this desolation of mine and have compassion on me, and see my orphanage. Okay? And see my okay, see my orphanage, and protect me, because he is the father of orphans and a protector of the persecuted and of the afflicted, a helper. I would take courage and cry to him. Okay. And the sin rose from the wall where she was sitting and turned to the window looking east and straightened up on her knees and spread her hands out toward heaven. And she was afraid to open her mouth and name the name of God. And she turned again away to the wall and sat and struck her head and her breast with her hand often and said in her heart without opening her mouth, what a wretched woman I am, and an orphan and a desolate, and my mouth is defiled from the sacrifices of idols, and from the blessings and the gods of the Egyptians. And now in these tears of mine, and the ashes strewn around, and the filth of my humiliation, how shall I open my mouth to the Most High? It says, and the sinner rose again from the wall where she sat and straightened up on her knees. Okay, and spread her hands eastward and looked with her eyes up toward heaven and opened her mouth to God and said, Lord God of the ages, who created all things and gave life to them, who gave breath to the life to your whole creation, who wrote the invisible things out in the light, who made the things that are and the ones that have the appearance from the non-appearing and non-being, who lifted up the heavens, who founded it on the firmament upon the backs of the wind, who founded the earth upon the waters, who put big stones on the abyss of the water, and the stones will not be submerged, but they are like oak leaves floating on top of water, and they are living stones. And hear your voice, Lord, and keep your commandments which you have commanded to them, and never transgress your ordinances, but doing your will to the end. For you, Lord, spoke, and they were brought to life, because your word, Lord, is life for all your creatures. With you, I take refuge, Lord, and to you I will shout, Lord, and you I will pour out my supplications, and you will confess my sins, and you I will reveal my lawless deeds. Spare me, Lord, because I have sinned much before you, and I have committed lawlessness and irreverence, and have said wicked and unspeakable things before you. Okay, I'll keep reading over. I'll stop when I finish this. It says, "My mouth is defiled from the sacrifices of idols and from the tables of gods of the Egyptians. I have sinned, Lord, because you have sinned much in ignorance and have worshipped dead and dumb idols." So I read all that. Okay, so just from what I read, anybody have any comments or any takes on what's going on? Comments?
Shalom. Yes, she's looking to repent because, again, like you said, she sees the Lord of hosts now in Joseph, and she knows that he has made it, come to her that she needs to repent, and she is seemingly fighting against it by not opening her mouth at first, and then thereafter she still tries to do it, and then she begins to do it, and then everything starts flowing out about what she has done and how she feels and what she know was wrong, and now what she know is true.
Okay, so let's look at that. I was saying the other night, back in the day when I was going through it with all this stuff, was you can when you understand what has happened and what they done to our forefathers' uh, records and all that, you can see how Christianity came into effect. So Joseph is a Hebrew, right?
Yes, sir.
And he getting ready to marry an Egyptian woman, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So wouldn't it be Joseph saying all this, or would it be her?
That's a
Let
thought.
that female. So what reason I'm saying that, the reason I'm saying that, this you can see how they go into the New Testament. You can see Mary. You see all they got what Mary doing. All this, that's what you can see it. Joseph the one would be doing all that. Joseph the way they put in Hebrew the Hebrew man's role, they put it on a sinner because like I said, she don't know him. She just it's telling you right here how many gods she got up in. She was raised up in her house. Now all of a sudden, the way she praying and talking, she been knowing the Lord of hosts long forever.
Right. She had so many idols she couldn't count them.
Right. So that's Joseph role. But you can see how they built how they go into our Christianity. You can see it. Like I said, go to we know it ain't true, but if you go to based on this right here, like I said, Jesus is hardest. This is how Christianity came out of Egyptian religion. They got all our records, but most of it is predicated off the Egyptian way of life. So the 12 disciples, 3 years, these 12 disciples are supposed to be with Jesus, right? For 3 years. So, and he telling them, they up all night in caves and all that, hiding from folks, and he said it's and down all his wisdom on them. And then at the very time, what he prophesied to them was going to happen, which was that he was going to die and he's going to ascend into the middle of the earth, right? And then he's going to come back up after 3 days. Well, he did that, according to Christianity. When he come back up, Mary there. 12 disciples, the 12 disciples up in the upper room somewhere hiding. So when he, all them 3 years that he's with them, telling them all this, but when he come back up, Mary there. And not only that, when they went to the tomb, five different Marys at the tomb. The 12 disciples, not one of them there. So that you can see that. So you say, what are you talking about? The Egyptians believed the woman was God. They didn't understand that the Most High put Adam to sleep and took Eve out, and she's a helpmeet to him. All they see is that you got a Pharaoh or you got a wise man or a strong man or whatever. The woman birthed him. So they think she God because these strong men, these men that's coming forth came from her. But not understanding, like I'm saying, even to this very day, they're not dealing with angels. Our whole history is our forefathers. They dealing with angels. These angels are tuning them in. They're not in the dark. But these folks, they are in the dark. Their whole history is they've been around angels. They don't know what's going on. It's only when like the book of Daniel tell you, he destroyed the Israelite kingdom in the third beast when the Greeks came. That's when they got hold of our records. That's how then they already were dealing with Egyptians. That's how Christianity came in existence. When they got hold of our records. Then they fused it. That's how you get Serapis. And then from Serapis, you get Jesus. They just took Serapis and put him in the Old Testament. That's how you get Jesus. But you can see it in these pseudepigrapha books. You can see them how they finagling it. So yeah, they going. I mean, it's meat in there because something had to happen. Joseph met. I read another book I had, and it made all the sense in the world to me. Was that the Egyptian woman that Joseph married was Potiphar's daughter. I don't know if anybody else read that. It wasn't this dude right here. It was Potiphar's daughter. That make all the sense in the world because you go back to Moses. When Moses came in contact with Jethro. Jethro had 7 daughters. That's how he got. That's how Moses got support. But he wasn't. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of this stuff right here is same way you looking at that right there with Joseph and ASENETH. You go to Revelations, you can see the same thing. That's how you know it's garbage. You can see how they mixed in a pagan. They got 2 or 3 verses, or 2 or 3 chapters, straight out of Hebrew, straight from our forefathers. Then they mixed in what they wanted to put in, injected it in there. And you can see it right here. Like I said, the way she praying to him, she praying a more fervent and better knowledgeable prayer than Abraham did. And she don't even know the Hebrew. She don't even know the Lord. Okay. Any comments?
Yes, sir. Um, yes. So this Sufa book here. So is it just recapping or changing things of the Old Testament that they changed again in the New Testament?
Well, what they got in the pseudepigrapha is, like I said, it's Egyptian. Egypt come out of Egypt, but when they got out our records, they was able to formulate the two together, and that's how you get Christianity. For example, Horus was immaculate conceived. You don't see no immaculate conceptions in the Old Testament. So this him being immaculate conceived, that's all originated out of Egypt. Not out of, that's not a Hebrew thought. Which you go back to, like I was saying before, when if you thinking, you starting to formulate your mind to think like a Hebrew, a lot of this stuff is just, you can see it. You go back and see how our forefathers was operating, you can, and then all of a sudden they stay injecting this stuff like this in there. It don't add up and stick out. Like I said, and like I said, the reason I read them, because it opened up so much, it opened up so much understanding in the scriptures.
Yes, sir.
But it opened up a lot of understanding. What's that?
Yes, sir. As you was reading it, and I was following along with you, it just took me to the giants, because everything was so large and everything was so big and high, and Pharaoh was of the giants, and so it just wasn't rolling into that. And then when it talked about her getting the ashes and doing all of that, it was like you said, did the whole 180 turnaround. And how would she have known that when all she knew was the idols?
Right. And up until that point, it tells you she had never even came in contact with no other man but except her father. And then it said that even the 7 maids, those 7 maid chambers, that's all she ever dealt with. She had never even dealt with no man, no kind of man, no kind of way. So like I was saying, who would go and get sackcloth and ashes? It wouldn't be her. It would be Joseph.
Right.
It wouldn't be her. Yeah. So you can see them reversing the roles right there. And so that's when, by the time you get to the New Testament and the Council of Nicaea and all that, they didn't formulate it all, they concocted it, because they worship the woman in Egypt. And like I was saying before, when you go back, or somebody shine a light on it, if you go back, nobody looks at the fact that, like you say, Constantine, right? Constantine, he comes from they're ascended from these fallen angels. That's why come off the way they do. They feel like they royal, like the Windsors over there in England. They ascended from these fallen angels. So everybody look at Constantine, but Constantine had a sister called Constantina, and then all them other men, they had sisters. So these women they was raised just like she was. They got wealth and all that, but the son is the one that get all, he the one become the king and all that because of the father. But they had daughters too. So by the time you get to when Alexandra, what's his name, Antiochus Epiphanes came, like Daniel said, and ran the Israelites out, and Christianity started being developed because there's no longer no more Israelites. The priesthood gone. Most out of dismantled it. So they started putting all scriptures together with Egyptian things. But these women got all this money. These men they'll come and marry a woman like Constantina, and then they become wealthy because of her. So when they started concocting all these stories, that's what they're trying to appease. That's why you see all these things with a woman doing this and a woman doing that. They're trying to appease these women. Like for instance, Potiphar's wife. She the one. Potiphar didn't have the wealth. His wife had the wealth. You see that all through if you watch any of these documentaries on history and all that, and when they tell the history, you got daughters too. Like I said, every one of them men they got sisters. Daughters, they got wealth too. They got just as much wealth as a man got, but they didn't have no power with it. And then when you look at the Israelite culture, as long as they was ruling, as long as Israel was there, there wasn't flying. But when the Most High destroyed Israel, the power vacuum came into play. These people came on the scene, and they duplicated the Egyptians. The Greeks duplicated what the Egyptians did. And the Egyptians worshiped the woman. And the Greeks worshiped the woman. That's why you see all this in Christianity with the woman. Well, it's predicated off of that. Even with the Immaculate Conception, they don't want to. So look at just look at that. He created Adam. Then Adam, 10 men before the flood. He had all them. If he got a son that he gonna bring to the earth, right? Through the woman or through mankind, he got Adam, Canaan, on down the line of Noah. Then you get to Joseph. Joseph supposedly out of that lineage, but he sent a Gabriel and overshadowed Mary. So what's that telling you? Damn the man, damn all these men that he's been dealing with. He ain't trying to deal with them. They like tits on a bullhog. All of a sudden now nothing they done don't mean shit. All of a sudden it's just he don't need them. Sound like the way these Edomite women is today. Because they don't want to start a women's live. They excluding the man. Like I said, 12 men is with Jesus all the whole 3 years of his life, his ministry. But when the time came and what he told them was gonna happen, it happened. He ain't now one of them there. Just like they wiped out the 12 men before the flood, they wiped the 12 disciples out. They somewhere running in each other, bumping heads. But Mary and these other women at the tomb, they got a GPS, the right compass. They in the right place. But the men throw. They don't know what the hell going on. They throw it off. You see it all through Christianity. It's the total opposite of what the Most High doing in the Old Testament. And that's where it's coming from today. Like I say, all you gotta do is look at the lion, look at the power and look how the Most High adorned him, the meat, the mane, all that on his neck. How in the hell is the female lion the same as him? and a silverback gorilla. Out here adoring the silverback gorilla. It don't add up. None of it. Don't add up. And like I said, he tells them, I remember 20 years ago, I guess it was, I was in a motel room and I read that and I can't seem to find it. But I know when the time comes, the Most High show it to me again. But he says two types of knowledge. You got the knowledge which Melchizedek brought forth, that figure Melchizedek, they receiving knowledge from these angels from heaven, and then they distribute it. They ain't had to go to no seminary or go to no school for 12 years and all that. So that's the righteous knowledge. But now these folks, these Greeks and these Romans, have set up this other system, which that ain't knowledge from the Most High. That's where you get the people you got today and the ones that the Most High created, that he says righteousness. Which, like I'm saying, if you lined out and you receive that knowledge, is one thing, but to not understand that that's two different types of knowledge, then it's gonna throw you off every time. There ain't no way in hell you're gonna be able to deal with the Most High, because you're gonna feel a certain type of way. He said, stay away from that knowledge. And that's, like I said, that's the beast system. The beast system started when Alexander came on the scene. And Negroes sitting around waiting on the beast system to come. It started when the Israelites was kicked out of the land. And these people imposed the system that we're dealing with today. That's the beast system. It's opposite what the Creator got set in motion. It's total opposite. And that's what we're looking at today. And you have to be able to, you got to be able to maneuver around it, work your mind around it. It ain't easy. Yeah.
Shalom. This is Tasha. I one of the things that it puts to my mind is just that one verse that talks about the Most High says that I'm the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow forevermore, something to that effect. And the way that the New Testament tells the story is a total opposite of that whole concept of who he is. It's like you're talking about two different people. And like you said, it's still going on today. They have been bombarding us with this false knowledge or false doctrine and trying to keep us tied down, and people are loosening up those chains. But I mean, they're doing everything they can to hold us down, even in if you take it out of the spiritual realm. I mean, but it's still there. But for those people who may not believe, even the part where they're being systematic with, they don't want us to read our history anymore. They don't want us to know. It ain't just the knowledge of just everyday progress that people have done, but it's really about the ancient history. They don't want us to know that.
Right, exactly. Especially, like I said, you don't realize it, but because of what they've done, you can't see those people as being black people. You can't see it because we've been so brainwashed down through the years, you just can't see it. But it's actually that's what's going on when you look at everything. Like I said, just look at the lion and how the Most High created him, how he adorned him, and the other animals, the rooster and all that. Come on. So then you start talking about it's a man that's dealing with the Creator. He's dealing with these angels. It can't be no other man but the black man. How can it be anybody else? When all you gotta do is look at it.
The other thing that's interesting to me is, I've been, of course, obsessed with all the stuff that's going on. You turn the sound down and you look at these people, they don't even look like they from the Middle East.
No,
they look like they're from Europe somewhere or from down the street.
They are.
But they are bombarding us with this idea of what who these people are and how
Right.
we need to respond and react to what's going on. But then you see glimpse of the people, the Hamas, they they look different.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
all I'm gonna say. They don't look like who they tell us they supposed to look like.
Right. Exactly. And like I said, your mind, because like I said, we got on the woman's side, you got Jewish Israelite woman, you got Eve, you got all these women you talk about in the scriptures. You got Eve, you got Rebecca, you got Michelle, all these different Rachel, and all these different women's DNA in you. So when you, especially if you're dealing with the scriptures, that essence is in you. It's vibrating in you. But you just ain't, because of what that happened to us. You going along with the program. But once you start, like I said, a foundation start being built under you, that essence that's in you start taking part in your understanding on how you look at that stuff. But at first, you don't see it. I mean, like I know with me coming up, it just ain't never registered. I came up in the church, but it just never registered. It's things that in the recesses of my mind was saying that shit that don't make no sense. But I just went on along with the program. And then when the time came, I was awakened to it, and to the point where I'm at now. The more and more you deal with it, greater and greater your awareness comes, and you can see things that just don't add up, and you learn to cast it off. Because if you don't cast it off, it's going to be a roadblock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is there something?
Yeah. Tradition is one of the things they use to hold us back and to
Exactly.
keep us blinded. We done what the people who we love, we did what they did, and they did what somebody else did.
Right.
There was a time that it was different, but once you get locked in, that's when they got you.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. If it ain't for the creator, you ain't gonna wake up. It's all, like I said, everything that happens, it's Most High behind it, Lord Host behind it. You didn't stumble across prophets of awakening on happenstance. It's all orchestrated. He's doing it. Once you realize that, you understand what's going on. And it's just like you came into this place and came in and got this understanding. It's people that ain't getting it. So it's all orchestrated. It's all been prophesied. Oh yeah. Just something.
Yeah.
So you can't never say I posted. I could be over here. Or I could have done this. No, it's all orchestrated. You ain't right where you supposed to be at. And when you it's been prophesied. It's already been, like I said, set up. He said it's gonna be a remnant. Yeah, it's gonna be a remnant. He says it's a wicked fig. It's gonna be a wicked fig. It's a good fig. It's gonna be a good fig. Your thing is to have discernment to see it, and maneuver around it. Use tact. Yeah. Okay. So we almost at 2 hours. Anybody else got anything?
Shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, I would just like to shine a light on something because years ago, when I was doing more research on Mary, right? Um,
Right.
you know, there was this article that came up that was saying that uh, the honeybee often represents the Virgin Mary, right?
Right.
Also known as the queen of bees, right? So
Right.
as I was reading this story, um, and we didn't get to that part, but in part two, it talks about the bees, right? So it starts out though, this is what I'm saying by when they change things, right? And today, a lot of things that I studied in the past that I had no understanding of, uh, now things are coming much clearer to me and dots are being connected, right? But there's no way I could have started out reading this and not having a strong foundation, right?
Right.
So when you're reading, and I'm just going to read a little bit, and just to show you how much they try to throw us off, and like you said, they place a little bit of the truth in there, and then they put their spin on it, right?
Right.
To lead you to the New Testament. So this is on page 197, and it's down at the bottom. It says, when she was yearning for Joseph, she entered into seclusion and prayed. And it says, and an angel breathed on her, right? And
Okay.
after that, a white bee made white honey in her mouth. And when she ate it, she was purified of her idolatry. So he gave her Joseph, and she gave birth to Ephraim and Manasseh, right?
Okay.
And
Right.
then the second part of that will be in part two, starting on page 229, right? And it says, the heavenly man marks the comb with a cross and makes bees, which encircle Asenath, rise from it, right? So it's saying that he tells her to give her, honey, but she sends somebody, she said she didn't have any, in her storeroom. So she sends somebody out to get a honeycomb, and he breaks bread with her. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
when you do, some research on that, like I said, today it's adding up to me, but years ago it did not. And I just thought it was a good point to share, is that when you research Melissus, I guess I'm saying that right, it's Melisseus, right, which is called the bee man, a honey man, right?
Right.
And he gave milk and honey to Zeus when they hid him, right?
Right.
And so to go back to the story for Virgin Mary, this is just a little article, that I said I read. It says, in ancient Egypt, tears of the sun god Ra turned into bees upon touching the ground. In ancient Greece, bees was a cult symbol for Artemis, Artemis, right? The virgin huntress and goddess of wild nature. In Christianity, honeybee often represents the Virgin Mary, also known as Queen of the Bees. As Mary gave birth to Christ, so the queen bee produces honey.
I
Right.
never
Right.
knew that.
Right.
That's something.
Right. So like I said, what's gonna really blow your mind, go back and then and look at when they show you the pictures of the pharaohs and all that. They got a symbol of the bee on their chest.
Mm.
So you say, what you talking about? Go to Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth, she always had that bee on her shoulder. Like I was saying, just what you just read, the Egyptians, all that came from the Egyptians, which is where these fallen angels, when they left Mount Hermon, that's where they went. That's the reason why the Egyptian culture is the way it is. They getting all their information. What made Egypt the way it was these fallen angels. That's where they came to. So the Egyptians copying the Greeks copying off of the Egyptians. The Greeks the ones they, like I was saying, they went into Egypt and told them to make I'm trying to think his name. Alexander, one of Alexander generals, made him make him a god. So they made him a god. That's who Serapis was. But Serapis is predicated off of Osiris and Horus and Asar. So then when they get to Council of Nicaea, they make Jesus, turn Horus into Jesus, based off of what they got it from the Egyptian mythology, but now they got our records. So just like they started using the bee and all that, they use David. He got to be out of the lineage of David. So that's why
Right.
now he's on David.
But and let me ask you a question. What do you think is the symbolism And first of all, the woman that was supposed to gave birth to Jesus is a virgin named Mary, and then
Right.
the Mary that's with him in the end is the lady of the night. I won't call her the other name, but the lady of the night, her name Mary too.
Right.
Everything has a purpose and a reason why they do everything. But I always, after listening to what Michelle just said, that just came to my mind about how those extreme women are associated with him like that. Someone
Well,
in an immaculate conception, and then a woman who is, known by many men in the end is by his side at the very end. Just
right.
something interesting.
Right. Two things go with that. When you, like I was saying, the storytelling part about in the scriptures, the storytelling part is that's what the Greek, that's what the Europeans, the Gentiles did. They storytellers. That's why that's important. That's all Christianity is amalgamation of all those different things that the pagans did. They did different things. You had some sacrifice their children to God, their young kids, their firstborn to God. You had some storytellers. That's what Christianity is. They brought it all together as one. But when you say Mary, well, Moses' sister, what her name was?
I don't know.
Miriam.
Oh, Miriam, yeah.
So you transliterate Miriam is Mary. That's why they got Mary all over the place. It's predicated off of Miriam. And what did Miriam do? While Moses was gone, Miriam was one of the people that the people in Egypt, when they was in Goshen, they went to Mary. That's the same Miriam that followed Moses down the water when they was young. Her mama told her, go follow the basket. It's that same woman, his sister. And then Aaron, a lot of people disconnect that. Then Aaron the oldest, Miriam, and then Moses. So that's why when you get the New Testament, you see Mary everywhere, called her Miriam.
Mm.
That's a transliteration of Mary. In the Hebrew is Mary.
It's also a lack of imagination.
Oh yeah, and then like I said, they always talk about immaculate conception. Horus was immaculate conceived. You don't see nobody being immaculate conceived in the Old Testament. All is
Right.
predicated off of, is all of it predicated off of Egypt.
Right.
Yeah. Is there something?
And look at why your girl, what's her name? Beyonce, what they call her.
Queen Bee.
Oh, come on, girl.
Right. Right. But yeah, check that out. Like I said before, the baptism. You don't see nobody getting baptized in the Old Testament. So where did it come from? The Egyptians worshiped the Nile. So the
Sure
Pharaoh,
did.
all
Right.
of the Pharaoh and all the wealthy, the aristocrats in Egypt went to the Nile. They worshiped the Nile. So they dipped them in the Nile River. No, you don't see nobody getting baptized in the Old Testament.
I didn't even realize that.
It all come out of Egypt. Yeah. Pagan. And then you just don't until you think about it. Like I said, you know what I mean? You can look at your own experience. Come on, man. You dipped me in the water and I came out of the water. Everybody, ain't shit happened, bro. What you talking about?
No.
But you brainwashed. You thinking it's something. Like the guy said, you was a demon when they dipped you in there and they brought you back out. You just wet.
I'm gone. I'm gone.
Shit. It's all it is.
I have to laugh.
I'm gone.
I had to laugh too.
But that's the insult. Like I was saying, the way they always insulting us with saying little negative things on the side to try to denigrate you. That's the damn insult. You sitting there thinking that, come on, man. Come on. Then where the truth come out at, with me is you go when they say how they came to the conclusion was the whole nation of Israel was baptized when they went through the Red Sea. But when you go to the scripture, it tells you. The prophet's gonna tell you if you listening. He says they went through on he dried up the water. He dried up the, when the
On
water
dry
was
land.
on
Yeah.
both sides, they went through on dry shod, on dry land. Ain't nobody get baptized. Come on, man. Like I said, that's an insult to your intellect. If he said he brought the water up on each side, how the hell they got wet? And then that's not the same. Even if they bumped into the wall of the water, and got some water on them, it ain't the same as taking somebody out in the water and dipping them down, submerging them under the water.
And
Ain't
praying
no
over them. Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy as hell. But that's where we at. And that's when, like I said, you have to break all that. Each individual person, you got to break all that on your own. Like I say, it was hard as hell getting rid of JC. Believe me. But over and over and the more and more that was revealed, then I throw them away. Well, yeah. Is there something?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, everybody got anything else?
I really
What's
enjoyed
wrong,
this
bro?
class. And we have to be careful on, like you say, what we're reading. We know how to take out the meat and throw away the bones. Because to me, they was trying to put her up on a pedestal, and we're gonna be saying, oh my goodness, what? We equal to the man. We can do this. We can do that. You know what I'm saying? They stripped her of her royalty garments, her purple and white garments, and had her throwing away her idols, but then try to give us as Hebrew Israelite women her as an idol. So, yeah, that's something I really looked at.
Right. And how you gauge that though is Moses was raised just like her, right? And when he was a little boy, they sent him down the river. Then they took him he was raised in a Pharaoh house, right?
Right.
Right.
Then one day he said they sent Moses to Goshen where the Israelites is there. And then he found out he's an Israelite. He didn't do all that shit. Come on, man. He didn't do
That's
all
what
that.
I'm saying. Yes.
Come on. Moses is a prince in Egypt. When he found out he was an Israelite, he didn't do all that. Come on, man. Like I say, he's that's crazy. So anyway, we got like I was saying, tomorrow night is men's night. I'm trying to figure out a way to finagle that to get it going. But so on Friday nights on Clubhouse, women come in, but they can come in at the bottom. Men gonna be at the top. It's men's night, same way that they doing here. The men can come in through YouTube, and just women's night. So we just reversed. So if nobody else have nothing to say, I'm gonna say shalom. Everybody good?
Shalom.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, I'm
Shalom,
good.
everyone.
I'm
Okay,
good.
glad to see you, Tasha. Glad to see you, Tasha.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good
Good
to
to
see you,
hear
Tasha.
everybody's voice.
Yes, sister,
Okay.
good to see you.
Welcome back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom,
Shalom.
Shalom.
everyone.
Shalom.
Peace and